Hello, folks. While editing and reviewing the contents of this video, I concluded that you, being someone who is trying to quit smoking, might question what the correlation is between quitting smoking and living a vegan lifestyle. So I feel I should clear the air right from the get-go and explain why it's so important that you hear me out completely before passing up on what I have to share with you. First of all, I am barely struggling with any nicotine withdrawals at all, and I attribute that to the fact that I am very healthy to begin with. And I owe my good health to my being a vegan. Yes, that's right. I don't eat meat, poultry, fish, or seafood. I don't consume cow's milk or dairy products of any sort, namely cheese, butter, and yogurt. And I don't eat eggs either. The result of having this lifestyle is this. My overall health is amazing, which makes quitting smoking that much easier for me to do without having the intense nicotine withdrawals that I would otherwise have as a meat and dairy eater. In conclusion, I have lots of honest to goodness great things to share with you. And I believe I can make your journey of quitting smoking easy to manage. So if you are serious about quitting smoking, you have got to set your ego aside and consider that what I have to say is of the utmost relevance to you in your journey of quitting smoking. The topics that I will address throughout this series of videos are based on my own true life experiences. I know without a doubt that what I have to share with you will be some of the truest bits of information that you will ever hear from anyone pertaining to quitting smoking. As of this very moment, March 14th, 2021, I have been cigarette-free for a total of 9 days, and I am certain that I have beat the habit without any fear of ever returning to smoking again. I'm truly here to help.
Day 5 is approaching, and I'm getting to be a little bit grumpy. But you know what? Nobody forced me to start smoking. Nobody forced you to start smoking either. So we might have been influenced by our so-called friends at the time, or we might have wanted to join the cool people at school or wherever it was. But nobody made us smoke, and nobody made us continue to smoke. So don't play the victim with yourself, okay? You're not the victim here. You created your own victimhood. So don't be poor meing. Oh, poor me. I'm suffering. I'm quitting smoking and it's so hard to do. The longer you have that victim attitude, the harder it'll be to stop. If that's what you really want to do, is stop smoking for good. Buck up and take responsibility for yourself. A lot of things will trigger the desire to smoke. The moment something goes wrong in your life, will be a moment that you will be triggered to want to smoke. And even the moment that something goes great in your life, that could trigger the desire to smoke too. So, where's the happy medium? The happy medium is just stay mediocre for a while. Don't look for reason to celebrate. Don't look for reason to be grumpy. No, I wasn't looking for reason to be grumpy this morning. I just sat down at my computer and was doing some things. And anyway, for the last 6 months, it's been really giving me a lot of problems. The battery discharges out of nowhere, like it'll be at 100%, and then next thing you know, it has depleted itself down to zero, and then it shuts off in the middle of doing something, and it's really, really annoying. Anyway, it had been kind of working fairly good for the last couple of weeks, and I said, okay, uh, that's fine. And then I get out of the habit of double checking to see where the battery power is, and anyway, all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of something important, and the battery died and it just shut down. So I'm waiting for it to come back on, and it's at 1% now. Willpower 1%. Is important. But as I mentioned in previous videos, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to make those sacrifices. You got to put the hard work in. You've got to define what your real reason is for wanting to quit. And you've also got to take a really good look at what your overall life's values are. You know, I lied to myself all my life, saying, and up until very recently, and I meant it when I said it, I feel better today than I did when I was 30 years old, half my age right now, less than half my age. I do. I feel better today than I did when I was 30. A number of reasons for that. One is I've become vegan. And for you meat eaters out there, you have no idea how you are affecting your life even just as bad, if not worse, than smoking cigarettes has affected your life. Eating meat causes cancer, period. Colon cancer is a big thing with meat eaters. Drinking milk and eating dairy products such as cheese, butter, cream for your coffee, milk for your cereal, drinking a glass of milk. Heavy duty on the prostate cancer for men and breast cancer for women. I'm not talking through the top of my hat. This is all factual information that's available widespread on the internet from multiple different websites. Cheese is more addictive than heroin. Eating cheese. So I gave all this stuff up 9 months ago, cold turkey, just like I am doing with my cigarette smoking, cold turkey. Now, I didn't struggle with quitting eating meat and eating eggs. I loved eating eggs, but I did not go through withdrawals of saying, oh, I wish I had an egg. Didn't happen to me. I wish I had some cheese. Didn't happen to me, although a lot of people go through it. And I attributed it to my having sound reason to become a vegan. Hence, I'm 9 months in. Now, see, I had no idea that I was going to experience an improvement in my health. I became a vegan for the animals because I could not justify my contributing to the suffering, needless suffering and agony uh, and eventual death that chickens and dairy cattle and their calves and male chicks in the egg industry and so on, how they all suffer among countless other types of animals that suffer at the hands of humans for their byproducts that that humans use for their own personal consumption. I could not continue contributing to that. Once I became aware in my mind and in my heart, I guess I always, we all know that animals suffer and die, but we ignore it for as long as we can until one day we decide to actually take a look at what goes on in the factory farm industry, the dairy industry, the egg industry, the poultry industry, the beef industry, lamb and goat industries. There's needless suffering and death involved in them all. Anyway, I became a vegan because I did not want to contribute to that anymore. I noticed an immediate improvement to my health, gradual, improving more and more each day to the point where I'm saying, holy smokes, I have never felt this good in my life. I had body pain, perpetual chronic body pain for the last 40 years that I had been taking upwards of 9 pain pills a day, 15 pain pills a day I was taking. And, just out of the blue, the pain pills, I stopped taking them because I didn't need them anymore. Because of changing my eating style. So the natural thing for me to do was to say, well, gee, uh, maybe I can improve my health a little bit more by cutting out sugar, the amount of sugar that I'm consuming. So I was drinking upwards of 4 cans of pop a day. Within, I'm going to say within a month of my being vegan, it might have been less than that, I quit drinking pop, period. Well, the first thing that happened is I started losing weight. And I lost about 14 pounds in a very short period of time. And, I discovered it was because of the difference in calories that I was consuming. And that was a good thing. The weight that I had on was weight from sugar from drinking pop. So nothing wrong with that. Within another couple of weeks, I decided to take my health to another level. I had been suffering with the growing pains of arthritis settling into my bones, and I had pain in my wrists. I had pain in my hands and my fingers. I had pain in my knees, and I had pain in my ankles and in my feet. And so I started doing some research on what would help alleviate some of this pain. And as it turns out, eating tomatoes, when you have arthritis, and if you are eating tomatoes, that's a no-no. Well, I ate lots of tomatoes. So I said, this is not something I really wanted to give up doing. But not only the eating of tomatoes, but the consumption of alcohol and sugar is not good for arthritis. Now, for as long as I can remember, I've been drinking a bottle of brandy a week. And I said, okay, I want to give this arthritis a fighting chance to end. And here's another thing that took place is I developed this bulge in the back of my left knee. And upon researching what that was, I discovered that it was called a Baker's cyst that was developing. And that's as a direct result of having arthritis. And it's, I guess, fluid that builds up behind the knee. Why? I can't remember why, but it was painful. So anyway, I said, okay, I'm going to get rid of this arthritic pain in my body, and so I'm going to give up drinking brandy. Just like that, I quit. So I, but this is now, let's say, 2 months into my being a vegan. So this is in by July of 2020. I had quit eating meat. That includes red meat, chicken, and fish and turkey. I gave up drinking milk. I gave up eating cheese and butter, cream for my coffee. Changed all that. I quit drinking soda pop. I used to go to Tim Hortons and have a combination hot chocolate coffee. I stopped that. I was having upwards of 2 or 3 of those a day, in addition to my 3 or 4 cans of pop. And I quit drinking brandy, a bottle a week. 9 months into this whole ordeal, I decided to quit smoking. So here's where I am right now. I am on my 5th day. Within a few hours, I will have 5 solid days of not smoking. I joined a few Facebook groups to maybe seek support in the event I was going to need it, but also to offer support because I figured that I was going to have a pretty good handle on this since I've given up so much in the last year, less than a year. I've given up a lot. And I had no intention of giving up smoking when I gave up eating meat and dairy products. I had no intention of quitting smoking when I stopped drinking pop. I had no intention of quitting smoking when I stopped drinking brandy. Now, the only thing that I still do, and I will probably give it up as well, is drink coffee. Because basically, I buy the $7 for a gallon can of coffee, and I know that this is not fair trade coffee. I know it's not. And so that means that people are being exploited in order to make this cheap coffee available. I am going to fight that as well. That will be my next ambition to undertake. So I hope that you are digesting what I'm saying to you. There is no need to give in to the pressures of the world. No need. Deal with what has occurred in your life to cause you to take the easy way out all the time, because if you are a smoker, that is what you're doing. You're taking the easy way out. You're trying to convince yourself, and you've succeeded in convincing yourself, that smoking alleviates stress. And yeah, as long as you want to believe that, go ahead and believe it. But you know what? It's a lie. I've been telling myself that for the last 50 years too. And it's a myth. It is not true whatsoever. Take accountability and buck up and take responsibility and just quit smoking and quit relying on it. It doesn't get any simpler than that. That's as simple as it gets. Yeah, you're going to have cravings. Who cares? You'll get over it. I'm sort of having a craving right now. Who gives a crap? I'll get over it. Do something that will occupy your brain. Do something that will occupy your hands. You have to make a lot of changes in your life. One of those changes might be who the heck you hang around with. If they are smokers, well, sorry, buddies. You want to smoke? Do it elsewhere. Stay away from me. You've got to take charge of that because unless you do, you're going to be right back into smoking with them again. I wrote a song about, I don't know, 15 years ago called Sacrifice Change. That I just might play it for you. There's a story to the lyric, and there's a lesson to be learned. And when I wrote that song, I was going through what I felt at the time, something that was very unmanageable for me to go through, and I was struggling with it. And so I wrote this song, and actually, it was a turning point in my life because it enabled me to take an objective view of what was going on in my life. And basically, the lyric itself instructed me what I had to do to um, to move forward. And they were inspiring words, and hence I pulled through what I was going through. I have since begun to live by those words and applying them to my life in as many ways as I can think of doing. And yeah, I'll consider either playing the song for you or at least reciting the lyric to you soon. It matters not whether or not you agree or disagree with anything that I have to tell you. It matters not, because it affects me not. I can assure you that I have been through the mill and back a number of times. I made some very unwise choices throughout my life, and the result of that has affected my life in many negative ways. And it wasn't until I uh, started taking a hard look at at my life, and deciding to make some change in my attitude, overall attitude, my behaviors, my way of thinking, uh, my reasons for doing or not doing things. Uh, Generating compassion and empathy toward other people and other beings. Um, I was I was where you are, in a quandary. And, you know, humans struggle for nothing most of the time. We are in a constant struggle with our egos. Our own ego is our worst enemy. We struggle with the things that we want for ourselves. And the things that we want are so absolutely irrelevant to the big scheme of things. Because acquiring the things that you want does not necessarily make you a better person. If anything, it probably makes you that much more worse of a person, because your ego becomes that much more inflated with the acquiring of the things that you want. This journey that I am on is a lifelong journey. It was a journey of learning by trial and error. And it requires doing a lot of soul searching. Anyhow, 20 some years ago, I became homeless for 4 years. And that that was reason enough to take a hard look at, at, at my behaviors and so on. But it doesn't happen overnight like that, like you have to go through the motions and and do some serious contemplating and thinking and analyzing and taking a hard look at yourself and it doesn't happen overnight. Like I said, 20 some years ago, I became homeless for a total of 4 years. And I did a lot of thinking and sorting out. Now, the thing is, like I just said, you can't just snap your fingers and life changes overnight. It doesn't work that way. Um, I still struggle in a lot of ways, but I've learned to not allow my ego to get in the way of my struggles. And so I have learned to accept my struggles as, okay, well, that's life. And um, I will see what I can do to change things. And I will take responsibility for the decisions that I've made that contribute to the issues that I am having to deal with at the time. And, life is not easy. But life is not easy for anybody right now, especially. The whole world has been on lockdown for a year. And that can be pretty stressful to a lot of people. That's what the powers that be want. They want to put us under their control. They want absolute control of us. to make us compliant so that we will buy into whatever it is that they are shoving down our throats. But that is another story for another day. What I want to share with you is this. You must, for your own good, look at the difference between your wants and your needs. In reality, there are not a whole lot of things that we actually need. And, I went through the motion of listing my wants and my needs a number of years ago. And really and truly, as long as your needs are being met, your wants are irrelevant. So, why is that important? Well, you are in the process of trying to quit smoking right now. Your reasons for wanting to quit smoking have got to be on your needs list. If they are only on your wants list, they are not important enough of a reason in order to ensure that you will remain quit. Now you think about that. That is a profound thought. For instance, if your main reason is to save money, even though that appears to be a really good reason, it's not a strong enough reason to ensure that you stay quit. Because what's a pack of cigarettes right now that most people smoke? $12, $15? So, whenever we buy a pack of cigarettes, we don't look at the annual cost or even the monthly cost of buying that pack of cigarettes. We look at the immediate cost. So if your pack of cigarettes is only $15, and if you've gone for the last, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks without smoking a cigarette, but then you give into this temptation 3 or 4 weeks in, and you say, well, it's only going to cost me $15 or $20 to buy this pack of smokes. You just might justify buying it. So that is why the amount of money that you're going to be saving is kind of irrelevant. It becomes very relevant a year down the road when you can look back and say, wow, I just saved myself, $3,000, $4,000 in this past year. Now it will have more meaning to you. And if you were able to save that money, it's going to even have that much more meaning to you. The difference between your needs and your wants. You've got to work that out. We'll talk again.